Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines across the globe this week. And we'll start with Nigeria, which now has a new national anthem, as President Bola Tinubu this week signed a law to revert to the old national anthem, which was dropped in 1978. At the National Assembly, Tinubu said that the change signals the rebirth of a nation. He asked Nigerians to chart their own path to prosperity. Arise correspondent Omar Bazoaye tells us more.
After so much back and forth about whether or not President Bola Tinubu would be at the National Assembly, the president steps into the hallowed chamber of a joint sitting at exactly 12:22 p.m. The president takes the center stage as Nigeria's old national anthem, Nigeria We Hail Thee, rent the air. Tinubu had moments before signed the national anthem bill passed on Tuesday by the National Assembly into law, effectively returning Nigeria to the old national anthem at the country's independence in 1960.
Henceforth, we will not refer to ourselves as just mere compatriots. We will refer to ourselves as brothers. And as we go forth in battle, whether on the field of sports, in the field of politics, in economic endeavors, we must hail Nigeria.
Standing before Nigerian lawmakers, Tinubu officially unveils the new national anthem, ending 46 years of saluting the nation with "Arise, O compatriots." According to Tinubu, the new national anthem marks a new beginning for Nigeria.
You rang out the latest national anthem. Nigeria will heal thee. See, this is our diversity. Representing all characters. And how we blend together to be brothers and sisters.
Tinubu shares the vision of a glorious future for Nigeria with the federal lawmakers, charging them to build the nation. He said Nigerians must be prepared to chart their own path to prosperity, stressing that no amount of foreign aid or support from outside can turn around their fortunes if they are not prepared to put in the hard work.
No amount of aid that may be coming from foreign countries or any other nation, they take care of themselves first.
Well, it seems that the president, who has wanted to change the national anthem prior to his election into office, has been able to accomplish something that he spoke about previously. Now, whether or not going back to our old national anthem that was penned by Lillian Williams, a British woman, at a time where we're trying to celebrate 25 years of democracy, is something that's prudent, something that is going to actually motivate Nigerians, is something that's yet to be seen. I feel that sometimes instead of going to the root of matters, instead of going to actual issues such as teaching history, teaching pride in nation, teaching unity from our children all the way to our adults within Nigeria, having a national orientation agency take our identity as Nigerians more seriously in the messages they're pushing. Instead of doing substantial work, we're doing cheap stunts, such as changing the national anthem. I believe it is a cheap stunt. I do not think it goes to the core of the issue. If we want to celebrate our unity, if we want to celebrate our oneness as Nigerians, you need to do more than just change the anthem. And particularly when we know the history of the anthem, it's something that we need to take seriously. I don't think that just the lyrics is what goes to the root of an anthem. When you look at anthems all over the world, a lot of them are war cries, a lot of them might be violent. However, there is a reason for the words that we sing, right? And you must have something, the message is not just the lyrics you see on paper, and these words have meanings. And I think this is something that should have taken a longer period of time than the time that it took. Yes, it went through due process, but it was definitely rushed through. I don't know the significance of the anthem to our president. I don't know the significance of the anthem to even the older generation, because we did have the speaker, Abia, say that this was the anthem he sang as a child, yes, and that us younger people will learn the lyrics and then we'll learn the message, but no, our identity and our unity as Nigerians and this love that they want to us to feel, it goes beyond just changing the words or the lyrics to our national anthem. It goes to the actions of the political class, of the people in power. And it also says that there needs to be more work done. You don't just beautify, you don't slap a flower on a dustbin and then hope nobody can smell the stink.
I definitely agree with you 100%. A friend of mine joked and said,
100%.
well, oh, yes, 100%, yes. A friend of mine was making a joke yesterday and said, it seems as if the labor of our heroes past actually might be in vain since it's been abandoned so horridly. I take one of the quotes that I saw on Twitter from Senator Shehu Sani, who said, Nigeria is facing a serious economic and security challenge, but prioritizing its national anthem. We have a bacterial infection, so we opted for Prada instead of penicillin. And, when we just celebrated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 1 year in office. Last year, May 29th, all we were talking about was the subsidy. And for me, this seems as if this is just one of those things that is out to distract Nigerians, because right now we are talking about is the first major headline on the morning show when there's so much happening. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office, we're looking at petrol prices at 238 naira per litre. Now it's 700. We have petrol price has gone up. Diesel price has gone from 844 to 1,400. Food inflation rates from 24.8% to 40.5%. Our general inflation rate from 22.1 to 33.69, and our foreign reserves have gone up, have depleted from 35 billion to 32.7 billion. So these are the things that we should be focused on. We should be looking at, okay, what exactly are our ministers doing? What a typical Nigerian now, do you think their problem is trying to learn the national anthem? And I was also thinking about it, that now that it's been pushed forward. So if by some chance you can't recite this new or old, I guess now brought back national anthem, is there some kind of punishment that comes from it? Will you be considered less of a patriotic Nigerian? Are we going to be like, I just want to know exactly what it means, because I know people that have not eaten, they are hungry, they don't know how to pay for their light bills, and you are bringing national anthem. Come on.
I don't, Mr. You don't agree?
So, well, I mean, this is not about agreeing or not agreeing. I think the first thing that strikes me would be that it seems to me that this is about you guys not knowing how to sing the old that is now new.
No.
Or should we say renewed?
No, I think it's about
renewed national anthem.
But
you don't know the national anthem.
I do.
I mean, let's
it can easily be. It's a
It
song. It can be.
All right. So confession time. I sang the old, that is now the renewed national anthem. In the first few years of my primary school. So I understand the thing. If it will, for anybody below, shall we say, below 50, it will be indeed very strange. That you have to go back to something that was bequeathed to the country at independence. We'll be 64 as a nation in October, so I understand the brouhaha. What do I think? I think the president has just gotten one of his desires, and I think he didn't just get one. I think he got two. If you remember that the song that is peculiar to his political camp, like a mantra, on your mandate, we shall stand. These days even the army, plays it as an addendum to the national anthem. I was surprised that it was not played when he went to the National Assembly. So why is the president fixated on Nigeria We Hail Thee? Maybe it's about age and what's the message of that anthem communicated to him and to the people in his class. Not to me, even though I sang it, in primary school. What I cannot deny is the fact that in 1977, going to 78, eventually when it was changed, under OBJ as a head of state, there was a clear need, to move away from the context, the text, and the message of that old anthem. I won't agree in totality with Adesua about the history of it just because a Briton was the one who penned the words. It wasn't it wasn't a colonial gift to us. It was well advertised. And I like the fact that all this is now bringing about some research that,
It was advertised. However, it was selected that a British woman wrote the lyrics and a British woman did the score.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, but
So
it was selected by a number of Nigerian musicologists, including Fela Showande, including T.K.E. Phillips. Fela Showande, by the way, was it was the head of the NBC at that time and one of the most accomplished musicologists of his time ever, in Nigeria. Why did they choose the text? Don't forget that they also chose differently the music that accompanied it. They chose, different things. As at that time, for me, I wouldn't know why, but I think that, maybe the wordings spoke meaning to our reality at that time. But as at 1978, clearly, not to talk of now, frankly speaking, I struggle to see the need to return to it. When I listen to Akpabio saying that, we're not just compatriots, we are brotherhood.
Do we actually treat each other like brothers?
Is it Portibus kind of brotherhood we're talking about?
I'm not part of a brotherhood also. I'm a woman.
Does he even understand what compatriots, means?
Yes.
Because you need to understand the wordings that you are trying to criticize because you want to justify something. Let's be clear about it. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has always wanted it. Is there a political reason why he does, aside the fact that like the majority of the members of the confab in 2014, who, by the way, also voted for the old national anthem, which is now the new one. Apart from, that nostalgic feelings for people above 60 and things like that, is there a political reason? I believe there is. If you look at the political struggle between Asiwaju and Obasanjo. It was Obasanjo that did it. And you know that there's no love lost, politically speaking, between the two of them. So I think part of it will be that I'm not going to be singing that thing, that you cause Nigerians to be singing. If that is the issue, no big deal. But then why take us back to 65 years ago when this, weddings were penned down? Why not say that in commemoration of the 25 years of unbroken democracy between 1999 and now, why don't you had a whole year, why don't you just commission another set of musicians, another set of people, to pen something new, something better? If you have to fuse what we had in 1959, 1960 to what we had in 1978, by all means do it. But to now say that is better. I don't get the point of when people say that the old anthem that is now new speaks more to our reality. No, not today. Not as at today. As at 1960, yes. But as at 1978, we had something designed and composed and delivered wholeheartedly by Nigerians. And they spoke as at that time. We have had it for 46 years. To our needs, to our aspirations, to what we represent. If we now think that at this time in our social life, in our national life, we want something better, commission it, not to return. I think it was something done hastily. I think it was just to satisfy the whims of the president.
Yes.
I do not endorse it, but what choice have we got? You asked what can happen. I saw, one of the ladies on the opposition
who refused to stand up and acknowledge the.
I will imagine that it depends. I don't think that there's an express law that will have you punished, but it also depends on the public outing.
But doesn't that sow a seed of confusion where you're in a public gathering?
Disrespectful to there's a religious body whose adherents don't rise to national anthem and to the pledge, things like that, But it would depend on the public outing. For example, if it is required in a place of work, or if you are seeking a government appointment or a public service, the least you can do would be to at least stand up and show respect, even if you're not going to sing it or recite it.
I think one thing that this shows me is that, previously a newspaper did call the Tinubu government a government of trial and error. It just does not feel like some things are fully thought through.
Really,
to be fair to the president, he has always desired to have this change.
A personal desire. A president's personal desire should not be something that is thrust upon me as a citizen.
By the confab in 2014, you guys will have learnt it anyway.
I would have still had these exact same comments.
Yeah, that's fine. But the point is,
I don't know. I'd rather go for T.Y. Bello's
it's the pejorative component of it that is funny to me. That people are not saying. People think that because we say Nigeria, we hail thee, it's a big deal. No, in the 80s, few years after it was introduced, and there were issues in Nigeria, it became like a pejorative word that, if you want to say, today when people will say, oh, may Nigeria not happen to you, people will just say, hey, Nigeria, we hail thee, like CEO, see what is happening. How that's not what we are returning to. But hey, this is what the president wants, and he has gotten his way.
Yes.
Well, Nigeria, we hail thee.
We really, we hail thee. I see you being patriotic over there. Keep holding it down for us.
You need to learn the new national anthem. Is the renewed national anthem. Learn it.
You're going to have to teach us since you know it so well.
It's just 6 lines, basic.
Just to make sure we get the tone and the feel of the.
And by the way, it's already happening in social circles in Lagos. And videos flying about people, now Fujilizing, Jujulizing.
Yes, I've seen some of those videos.
You will enjoy it. Let's be patient.
All right, then moving on very quickly to our next story. An army checkpoint in Abia State was on Thursday attacked by suspected members of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, at the end of which 5 soldiers were reportedly killed. The 5 soldiers, including an army captain from Abia State, were attacked at their duty post in the Obikabia area of Obingwa local government area by hoodlums who were enforcing a sit-at-home order declared by Emma Powerful, the spokesman of the separatist group. In a statement signed by the director of the Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, the military said it would retaliate the killing of its personnel with fierce response and overwhelming military pressure. This story came in on Thursday, late on Thursday, where we found out that these soldiers and even 6 civilians as well were attacked. So first, of course, I just want to piece to the following. This was supposed to be a routine checkpoint. But I think what I really wanted to touch on was the fact that this sit-at-home order that was allegedly being enforced by IPOB, and then now this attack happening. There was a particular video that I saw where the head of, I think it was the Indigo group, Mr. Iwayan, actually said that Chief Iwayan actually visited the leader of IPOB, and he had a conversation with him. I'm talking about Kanu, had a conversation with him, and he actually said that he had no involvement whatsoever in this attack. They don't want, in fact, they had actually said that they wanted people to stay at home on this 30th of May to honor those who were, the heroes and heroines who died in the Civil War between 1967 and 1970. So if we're looking at it from that angle, where these Biafran heroes were supposed to be honored, then how does this attack on civilians and this attack on the army, on the military pan out? There needs to be an investigation, a thorough investigation, because now it seems as if a faction of IPOB are the ones that are now perpetrating this, and there might be the division in the house. The second part for me is the military saying that they are going to retaliate with 100% with brute force, and I get that. That's understandable. 5 lives were lost, including the captain. But we don't want another situation where the military goes in with absolute force and more civilians are caught in the crossfires. I think a deeper investigation into exactly who was behind this attack needs to be done, as opposed to them just going back into Abia State with guns blazing. We're still reeling over what happened in Delta State. It's in Okwama, still waiting for the results of that investigation to come out, and now we have something else on our hands. Mr. Steve.
I totally agree with you, Sheito. What happened on Thursday was clearly very sad, disheartening, barbaric even. This is the height of the dangerous trend that the sit-at-home in some parts of Southeast, portends. Yes, if some groups decide to celebrate heroes past, especially of the Biafran, war, that's okay. But then why ask people to stay at home, particularly on a day that an examination was taking place, thereby denying thousands of young lads the opportunity to write their exams. What will happen to those who couldn't write their exams on those days? What will happen to the Abia-born captain, army captain, that you killed mercilessly? Somebody from your own tribe, somebody who probably within him believes in the Biafran cause, but is just protecting the peace of the area. But then you hammered him down. I think that this calls, like you said, for investigation and, of course, decisive action. That will be determined by the government and the authorities. I recall, of course, that the army declared him wanted, the fellow in Finland. But we know, of course, that this particular stay-at-home was called by the spokesperson of IPOB, Imapafu, or something like that they call him. The authorities will have to fish him out, and all the people who are parts of this dastardly act. The Biafran cause is not about kill and go. It is not about, hacking down your own people. It is not about destroying the economy of the Southeast. And I hope that those who mean well for the Southeast, particularly those from the Southeast, will be able to call out the perpetrators of this dastardly act with a view to making sure that it does not happen again. No government will fold his hand and expect non-state actors, to take charge and be killing people anyhow. It can work if there are issues to conclude upon, particularly the Nnamdi Kanu issue. Of course, I urge the government, particularly the president, to look into it. But that is no excuse whatsoever for the IPOB fellows to continue to engage in wanton killing of lives, and destruction of property. It is just not acceptable.
Definitely. This, for me, is the definition of terrorism and terror, when people are too afraid to leave their houses because a non-state actor, a non-state group, has said that they will not be allowed to leave their houses. I also think that this shows, honestly, the importance of us revisiting our history. Beyond this national anthem issue where I spoke about our history, no, I think it's actually very critical for us to revisit our history, because if there is a segment, we did have a civil war, and there is a segment of the country that's saying that we want to honor lives lost in this battle beyond the agitation for, separatists. Like, you do not need to acquiesce to what separatists want or what terrorist groups want. However, there is a valid claim in saying that we should remember people who lost their lives, civilians and children, and even those agitators who lost their lives in that civil war. Yeah. That there should be a day of remembrance, that there should be time set aside for us as a whole nation, not just the Southeast, to also look back at what was lost in order for us to remain this one Nigeria. Yeah. And I think that in itself is valid. What is invalid is a terror group holding a region and people of different states hostage. Threaten under the threat of violence, both IPOB and ESN, and it also shows us the development of this violence and the development of this terrorism is that they're actually being engaged with as an authority in and of themselves. And beyond Nnamdi Kanu, who is in detention, saying that he has nothing to do with this order, you do have another leader of IPOB who is in Europe, right? Who's giving orders and giving speeches from Europe. And so this issue that we're talking about is
declared wanted, by the way. So yes, I wonder what the Nigerian government is doing. Why not liaising with the Finnish government?
But it is probably a very sensitive issue, because they do have one leader in detention. If they get the other one, we don't know, because the situation on ground is, even in 2021, I was reading that SPD violent conflict database said there's 25 Nigerian soldiers killed in Imo State, 12 and 14 in Anambra and Abia, 6 in Enugu, 9 in Ebonyi. Yeah. This is not a new issue, right? And this issue is not going to be solved by us treating it in the way we've treated it in the past. Like, we do actually have to have a serious conversation. And Nigerians actually have to be ready to be like, yes, we have agitators now, we have terrorists now. Yeah. However, in order to delegitimize those terrorists and the points they're raising, we do have to have real conversations about the Biafran War, about honoring people who lost their lives in that moment. Otherwise, these things will happen. And as you rightly pointed out, for me, my heart breaks for the children who could not write their exams.
Absolutely.
This is why we're going to now
I mean,
reschedule just for the students in Abia State. I mean, they will probably have to.
Yeah.
But just any inconvenience whatsoever, anything that comes against like our children getting their education, people losing their lives is something that we never want to see.
Especially our servicemen.
Yeah,
It's just
sad. All right, we'll move on. Still on clearly avoidable loss of lives, 12 students of Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo, are currently being detained at the State Criminal Investigation Department in Ibadan, the state capital, over the gruesome murder of a 200-level mechanical engineering student identified as Alex Oko. Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor Timothy Adebayo, who made this known to newsmen, said that the school authorities had put in place adequate steps to forestall a recurrence of the dastardly act. Correspondent Olutayo Famous Cole has more details in this report.
The nation was once more taken aback when a video surfaced online showing students of the Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo town, pouncing on a 200-level mechanical engineering student identified as Alex Oko, resulting in his death. The shocking event sent shockwaves across the country, once again raising critical questions as to the safety of students on university campuses. Since the ugly incident occurred last week, the school's management is addressing newsmen for the first time. A vice-chancellor of the school gives details of the gruesome murder of the promising star, whose life was cut short at his prime.
Any case that cannot add to another hospital in town, because we are just health center in the university, provide immediate health something to our students. And when it is more than that, we go to higher health center. We have had cases where we have from the hostel to health center to another hospital in town, then to UCH, and God help us. But this one, we find that when he was brought to the hospital in town, he was brought in death.
The management of the school expresses sadness over the unfortunate incident and sympathizes with the family of the deceased.
And they were later interrogated, only to find out that not all those people that were taken to the police station actually participated in the heinous crime, as pointed out by those people that actually participated in the crime. So by so doing, 6 out of 18 were released back to the university. I asked them, why were they released? They said the preliminary investigation carried out, and by those boys, the way they talked, actually signified that those boys, the other ones, were not part of their activities. The police, that's their work. They had us to interrogate, to look at their statements and everything. From there, they were able to identify those people that actually did the boy, those who shaped.
Cases of bullying in Nigerian institutions of learning are on the rise. A cross-section of rights activists who spoke to our correspondents blamed the breakdown in the family value system as responsible.
We have had a lot of news that students bullying themselves to the point of death. It's not welcome. Please, decide from it. God frown against it. And you may have your way today, temporary victory, tomorrow will tell. Because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. It's been recorded for you that you have erred and you have killed a soul. Please stop bullying. Then I want to admonish the parents. From home, teach your children not to intimidate other colleagues or friends in schools.
Children will always watch what we do because they are modeling what we present to them. What we model to them is what they will see, and that's what they will do. That's what will form their habit, their attitude. So whatsoever they see us doing, they emulate, they carry out. So as a parent, as an adult, as someone, we all need to work on ourselves. We need to develop a better mentality, a better behavior, so that we can have a better society. You know, most of this, we have different type of bully. And we have homegrown.
police declined to speak on the matter on camera. The parents of the deceased and indeed the nation expect that the perpetrators of the heinous acts would be made to face the full wrath of the law. Olutayo Famous Cole, Arise News, Oyo.
That's another sad one. Unfortunately, it happened in a university environment, and like Shaitan pointed out, while we were discussing, back in here. I mean, it's happened in a Christian, institution. I like the fact that the school is taking this up. The police hasn't said much, but 12 of the boys have been arrested, and it looks to me like this is more than just a case of bullying. I think that this is almost like a premeditated, attack to snuff life out of your mates. Over what? Over an alleged, stolen phone. I think this is bad in a university environment. It is really bad. I mean, pouncing on another person to the point that he will lose his life. Those people do not look like students to me. They look like more raiders who would do anything to kill. That's sad, really.
I mean, the institution has declared a 3-day mourning. It's beefed up security and is reiterating that the students are safe. Like you rightly pointed out, I think for me, because I went to a Christian university, there's this big push on forgiveness and love and just trying to model your lifestyle according to, principles of the Bible. So if you think about, those principles and the fact that, okay, allegedly this person might have stolen a phone, how about, you just report it? But when you also think about, the concept of crowd mentality and how we could have just taken one person to, strike the first blow and everybody just gets involved, really breaks my heart. And there were videos that did circulate online. I couldn't watch those videos because they were just too gory. That's another angle about this is, even though that video was the evidence that they were able to use to identify some of these students that have now been detained over their fellow students' death, the fact that you even, beat somebody up, recorded it, and then uploaded it to social media is like another level of, of evil. It's dehumanizing. Like, what are you? Is that how confident you feel about your actions? Very, very. My heart goes out to. I saw a picture, in the VT that Olutayo put out of him and his mother. Looks like it must have been from his matriculation day because he's wearing the attire. Wow. That is the worst dream of any parent, where they want to leave their children in school thinking that they're safe, getting the best education that they are striving out there to pay for, to now receive news that they've actually passed away in such a brutal manner. My heart goes out to the parents, and I really call on the police authorities to look into this and figure out exactly what happened and make sure, and try their best rather, to make sure that this doesn't happen again at this one.
Definitely. I mean, a young man has been lynched. That's just what this is. This is a case of jungle justice. It is an absolute tragedy. And we also have 12 young adults or children who themselves have been perpetrators of violence. And this intense violence or rage that we see, them deciding that they are the judge, jury, and executioner over a stolen mobile phone, shows a very deep crisis, I think, a cultural crisis that we have spoken about before when it came to bullying, when it comes to care of neighbor, care of self, and care of another fellow human being. The dehumanization is, I think, for me, what is particularly scary. As you said, like, they have uploaded this, they've recorded this. This is something that's happened amongst a group of people. And I don't even necessarily think it has to be premeditated, because we have heard of multiple stories of this type of jungle justice. Someone stole something in a market, stole a phone in a market, or stole even food.
One case was Alu 4, if I remember.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you have these lynchings or this jungle justice, it shows also that I think it shows us a severe crisis in culture, and it shows us a severe crisis in accountability. Maybe people don't believe in the justice system. Maybe they don't have fear of actual, ramifications for their actions. but it is a tragedy for the family, and I think it's also a moment for us actually as a nation for us to think about what is occurring. If this can occur on a university campus, if this can occur with university students, these are not people on the streets, these are not criminals. They might have criminality within them, right? And they might, they might have some criminal elements within them. However, these are students. And they felt confident enough to not just do this, but record it and upload it. And that is absolutely frightening, I think.
Yeah. You remember we had a discussion like this, I think it was another student or something where we debated.
The one that was slapped.
Yeah, that was exactly, when you have to do this.
Definitely.
It's evidence when you record, but then we can now see the horrific side, of what social media and everything. I think my last word on this will be an admonition to students themselves. Pilfering and theft, stay away from those, no matter how tough things might be. Avoid, heavy vestiges of trouble, And for those who might want to partake in jungle justice, avoid it too, because at the end of the day,
it's illegal.
It's illegal. You can take the law, into your own hands. All right. And that will be all on the week that was, but we will take a minute or two to bring you up to date with stories that are making the rounds at the moment. And now to South Africa, where political parties are getting ready for coalition talks as results from Wednesday's election show the African National Congress is due to fall well short of a majority. If confirmed, it will be the first time that they need the support of one or more of the other parties to continue in office. The next largest party, the Democratic Alliance, says there are choppy waters ahead for South Africa. Most of the voting districts have now returned their results to the national tally. They show the ANC winning around 42% of the vote, the main opposition DA at 23%, and former President Jacob Zuma's MK party coming in at 12%. Our Rise political editor, Somna Sambo, gave the following update a short while ago.
Right here at the National Results Coalition Center, the IEC is saying that 71.76% of results have been released and captured generally at the moment, where in some of the states we've had 100% of the results counted, and that's specifically for Northern Cape. Others like Eastern Cape, it's at 92.13%, Free State at 95%, Gauteng Province at 75.3%, and so on. And generally, from some of the glitches that we had earlier on, the IEC, in a statement not quite long, said that the Commission regrets the incident that happened earlier in the morning when the leaderboard of the results operation centers went off, saying that, I'm quoting it now, the Commission went into the elections with a full IT plan which included a backup and recovery in case it is needed. So it's saying that this is not a crash of its IT system and that no data was compromised. And of course, after this information was given, IEC officials went ahead to actually inform South Africans that the results, that's the final results, will be released during the weekend when all the results would have been brought in. And of course, the three leading political parties right now, from what we could see at the board, are the ANC, which has always been the governing party, and then of course followed by the DA, which is the official opposition. But the new kid on the block is MK, led by former President Jacob Zuma, who coincidentally is still a member of the ANC, but directed his supporters to support the MK, which is now officially the third largest political party for now, while the formal results are being expected. While the EFF, which used to be the country's third largest political party, is now in the fourth position. Well, we are all waiting to see how this pans out, even as several South Africans continue to count on the IEC to do the right thing. And there are also talks of coalition governments coming up any moment once the results are finally collated. But will the ANC be going into coalition with the MK or EFF or the DA? Well, it's all left to be seen. Some of the Sambo, Arise News, Gauteng Province.